Hi, so this lecture today we are going to talk about muscle endurance and stability. Okay, muscle endurance is what? The first phase of training. So if there's an athlete, and let's assume Varun's somebody who's a badminton player, doesn't maybe have strength right now to uh, lift heavy and doesn't have explosiveness as well. If he has just about started training and he has just about sort of started training in the gym, okay, so along with that, when we want to build fitness, what do we do? Do we want to put him straight on heavy weights, or do we want to put him on something which requires a bit more balance? So that's something we need to realize, that the first phase, endurance, becomes the important one. We've of course covered that in the theory lectures, but now talking about from a practical point of view, how do you do it in a gym? When you're in the gym, how do you set that program and get the athlete moving? So we will be doing a combination of exercises today. First, for base muscle endurance, one will be squats with a very basic weight, which is around 20 kilos, okay, just the Olympic bar. Uh, if the person finds this difficult, you can do that. You can do the same exercise by just doing basic squats without any weights. So that's fine. So you can regress or you can progress. Okay, and of course, when they can do this very easily, you move on to maybe 2.5 or 5 kilos. So, excuse the sound, but I mean, this is a gym and this is how things are. There will be noises, you have to train in this. So, coming to exercises, we'll be doing squats, we will be doing single leg deadlifts. And why are we doing single leg deadlifts and maybe not double leg in this particular case? Because we want to work a bit on stability as well. So, we want to make sure that joint awareness is still high. So we will be doing single leg deadlifts. We will be doing then is lunges, back lunges. And why back lunges? Because again, it's a unilateral movement, one leg at a time supporting the body. Next from there, we'll be moving to leg curls, leg extensions, and possibly end with calves. Now, the same sequence can be also applied to upper body movements. So, if you're working on upper body endurance, what do? You could do a bench press, high repetitions between 10 to 15. You could move forward with push ups for that person. If push ups are too hard, you can do it with knees down variation. From there, you could even try, if possible, um, um, pec fly, or maybe if there's a pec deck machine, you could do that as well if you're working on one muscle at a time. Okay, depending on the sequence, maybe if it's someone really new, then I would possibly make them do one leg exercise, one upper body exercise, one leg exercise, one upper body. It depends, but definitely higher repetitions and less rest in between. So today we are just going to go through a leg routine, and this probably can be something which can be done for badminton. Once maybe somebody has completed possibly 1 month or 2 months of training, they can start with this. Use your own discretion to understand how much load they have to take, how many sets, how much rest period. So just keep an eye on that. Okay. So we'll start with squats first. So Varun, if you can just get in there and do approximately around 12 reps. The tempo will be 2 seconds down, 1 second up. Okay. So let's go. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. The range is important, that it's full. Good. 4. Excellent. 5. If possible, if they can go down lower, allow it, but don't force it. Okay. If you can go a bit lower, Varun, there you go. Yeah. So up to around upper thigh parallel. That's what we're looking at. I think that's around, how many is that? 10? Okay, good. So we time him approximately 30 seconds, then he'll do the next set. Okay. How was that? Okay, doable. How many more could you have done? Easily, like maybe 5 more, 10 more, 5 more. So this is a good way to get feedback. Okay, rather than using your own judgment, use the capacity to learn so that you get an idea about how many more they could do. If he says he can do 5 more, you don't make him do 5 more, you make him do 2 more. Okay. So now that's 30 seconds. Let's go again. Same tempo, 2 seconds down, 1 up. You can make it even 3 seconds down if necessary, depends on the experience of the athlete. Good. Eyes ahead. So you can see it's endurance based, it's slow, but his coming up is still pretty decent. It's not too slow. Good. How many more could you have done now if you push? 3 more. So as you can see, the capacity is reducing. We need to keep this in check because the third set will be definitely harder than the first one. So now he could even do 8 if necessary. Okay, but keep his total capacity somewhere around at 80%. Okay, don't let him do, if he can do maybe 12 maximum now, don't take him to 12 because that's still maximal training. Okay, let's go again. So this time 8 or 10, okay, according to comfort. Don't push. Yeah, and engage your core. Good. Make sure you push from here. So down, push from the center. Good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you want, you can stop at 8, 7. If you're okay, go for 10. Pretty good. 9. By the third set, be ready to help. Okay? Because by now, the athlete's tired. So make sure that you're ready. In case they are not able, they're a bit disoriented, whatever, be ready. Safety first. Okay? Good. Now from here, we take 30 seconds, right? And next we move on to is single leg deadlifts. Okay. Now single leg deadlifts will be nothing but from here, one leg balance, you go down, touch, come up, balance, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now when they're tired, it's a bit harder, but then it's a good way to work on stability. Okay. So I'll give you a bit longer break. You can go from around 30 to max 45 seconds, but more than 45 or 1 minute just makes it pointless. Okay, because most, if we are taking badminton as a sport or any sort of sport where there's repetitive, incomplete recovery before you play the next one, then 30 seconds to 45 is what is good because that's what is similar between two points in badminton. Okay. Okay, let's go. Now, single leg deadlift, both hands touching your shoelace and then up. Okay. 1 and up. Good. 2 and up. Now, if you want to make it easier, then the leg lifting need not be done. So, you can just do it, yeah. So, if it's a ranked beginner, then they have sort of less cues to keep in mind. So, just there, up. Now, sometimes people will take their back leg completely up. Again, depends. You don't want to make somebody new do that. But that is one more variation where you go down, the back leg comes up. That would, of course, get the spine into a bit more extension in the lumbar region. So, all your choices, but you have to keep in mind when you do, for the beginner, make it as easy as possible. One parameter at a time, which here is endurance and stability. Let's go. 1 and full extension. Make sure you come into full. That's it. Head above the hip above the feet. Yes, sometimes the athlete might just stop short. You don't want that constant loading on the hamstrings and glutes without getting into full range. Okay, so full range, back again, full range, back again, hold. Short break, then we do again. How was this? Okay. Okay. How many more could you have done? 6 to 8. So it's always important to ask how many more could you have done. This gives you also an idea. Okay, if the person says I could have done maybe 15 more, then you know that's extremely easy. But when they say I could have done maybe 2 more or 1 more, then you're really close to threshold. Okay, so this becomes a very practical way, fast, quick in the gym, in the real setting to be able to use. Okay. Now here, because it's doing left and right, one leg sort of is getting rest anyway, so we can move a bit faster. So let's go once more. So touch, up, So if he's comfortable at his level now to bring the knee up, that is fine. If he has a history of training, then this is good. Okay. Next, same. If you check time that it takes, okay, one. So that took approximately 35 to 40 seconds. So that's a prime example of using the glycolytic system. Okay. And he's using it, and at the same time, it's also a sub-maximal exercise. So this also gives us an idea which category or rather which energy system is being used. Okay. It also gives us an idea as it's a sub-maximal movement. It is definitely not fast twitch fibers, but we are also looking at a lot of balancing. So ankle stability plays a role. How would this help? A sport like badminton, where you land and after hitting a smash, you land down on one leg. This plays a role. Okay. So stability movements done definitely help. If you can combine that with endurance, where his hamstrings are also being loaded, it's a perfect combo. You think you can do one more? I don't want to kill you with workouts, but yes. So let's enjoy the fun. Let's make him do a bit more. Okay. Make sure you don't push all the way. Do around 70-80%. So 2, 3. Sometimes for fun, I would do this with athletes. Again just to give some uh, kind of feedback to them as well. As they do, you just push them lightly. They have to work a bit harder. It keeps you entertained. But don't overdo it, of course. And they sort of become very aware then of their bodies, right? You can push the hip, different points very lightly. But so just you being aware, just you being there, I think that itself makes the athlete think. Okay. So these are things, just your awareness, your involvement being around him. But you need to know just to add enough value and not overdo it. I mean, don't go and push the athlete just to show that, they are losing balance. You don't want them to lose balance. You want to test their balance. So pretty good. The current rate of movement is pretty good. Okay. Now, because it's the third exercise now that we'll be moving to. So this time I will give him a slightly longer break, which is 45 seconds. Okay. You can have water. Yes, do remind people to have water in between. Okay. Now, next we'll be doing is the lunge. Now the lunge can also be replaced by, if you want to, a box step up. Okay. What's the similarity between both? Single leg. What's the similarity also? There's a lot more hip flexion. Okay. One, of course, is the fact that you are landing into something which starts with an eccentric contraction. But when it comes to box step ups, you start with a concentric contraction. Okay, because your foot is already high. So also the push off changes with a box step up. The back leg plays a greater role. In the lunge, it's sort of your front leg that takes most of the load. Okay. Now we need to just make sure. Okay, time's up. Let's go. You can do it this way so the camera can see, or other facing there, yeah, and a back lunge. Okay, so from there we'll go 1, yeah. Now in this, try to keep your shin vertical to the ground. Okay, yeah, that's it. Then again, yeah. So he's doing the harder version, which is the same leg. Okay, keep going. But the leg stays the same, your shin can still be a bit more. That's it. So here, something to teach the athletes is that you want the hip to be working more. It's not much knee flexion. You want hip down, hip up, hip down, hip up. Okay, so approximately around 10. And this is definitely the harder version, meaning there's constant tension on the same leg. Okay, good. I think that's 10. Yeah. Now, on the other hand, if you want to make it easier, you can make them do left, right, left, right. So, okay, once right, once left. Not as effective because, one leg gets a break, but it still gives you some amount of movement going on. Okay. So again, a good, super good move, specifically for a sport like badminton, hockey, because this is the position. I mean, beyond this, badminton players would go almost like, into sort of not a full split, but they would really go into a fully stretched position. So this helps prepare the groin region, the adductors to stretch under load. Okay. So we'll be doing one more. Now, variations that you can add in this, and I'll try to make him do different variations. Next one, what you could do is you go down, you come back, and you come up, balance and down. Okay. So let's add some balance into it. Okay. We can also make it harder by making him, instead of hands on the hips, make him hold on the chest. Okay. So hands across. Yeah. That's it. Good. 2. Pretty good. Try to keep your shin vertical. Yeah, so it's more hip. You want the hip to move in this. The knee has range anyways. The knee doesn't have a problem getting into flexion. You want to teach the hip to go as low and get into as much flexion as possible. Okay. So it's the hip that you want to be working. That's it. Nice. Hip. Good. 3. Now, sometimes for those who have greater flexibility, you can make them take a longer lunge, which is also a variation, but again, you need to have flexibility. What should not happen is when he does the lunge, is to get greater range, but with the back arched. Okay, so here there's a pretty decent form. His core is engaged. In between, again for fun, you can hit the abs just to check that they're switched on. Now, a very simple variation, third one, what we'll do, and this is something you can try. Pretty good for awareness. He'll do the same thing with his eyes closed. Okay, but without balancing, because balancing will be pretty hard. He'll just keep his eyes closed and do alternate 1 and 2. It just changes the dynamics. Okay, these are small changes you can use, but in a safe environment. Don't do a weighted one with eyes closed, with a bar on the shoulders. Wouldn't be suggested. Don't do walking lunges with your eyes closed. Because in the gym, you never know. Okay, but he can do it stationary, eyes closed, just back, front. It just suddenly puts him in touch with the body. Okay, so this is a variation we'll try. So next one, regular ones, alternate, one back, but eyes closed. Okay, hands on the hips. Yeah, shin vertical. You can just see how it changes his movement. His whole awareness of where his knee is. Now he can't see where he is. And that's what makes it so much more effective. Okay. Because ultimately you also want the player to be aware of spatial awareness. Because what happens when they are near a baseline and then the shuttle is going out, or they're playing tennis, what's their positioning? That plays such an important role. So your senses, okay, sense of sight, sense of sound, the more you can train them along with, without changing the efficacy of the exercise, why not? And as you can slowly see the direction, okay, how that changes. How many done, Varun? Okay, great. So you did in between go this direction. So as you could see, he was facing this direction for a while, then he moved back again, which is great. But that has given him an awareness. He's aware of which side my sound is coming from. Okay? So that's why this becomes a very simple, but at the same time very effective way, okay, of doing the lunges. Now from here, so we've worked something which was more quadriceps, hip. Okay, we've done that. We moved to single leg, which was hamstrings. Okay, how do we make the single leg deadlift harder? You can use a dumbbell. Okay, the dumbbell can be held with both hands down and up over time. Okay, lunges, you can do these variations which we've spoken about. You can hold dumbbells on the side if you want. Over time, you can just hold a bar. That generally becomes good. Only thing in lunge is to make sure that when you do this, and if you're going into a lunge, you don't want this happening, which is here and arched. Okay, you want to keep this engaged, tight, so there's a pull on the hip flexors as well. If you go back, okay, steady, back, again down. You want the hip to go down and engage with the core. You don't want this. You don't want this range. Very common mistake. Many people end up doing it like this. From here, one, right? And then going down. So lots of knee flexion, hyperextension. You don't want hyperextension. You want this tight at any given point. And whatever range comes in, get it from the hip flexor of the back leg. You don't want now to go down by pushing the knee forward and arching the back. You want the knee to be there. Get your hip down. Make sure this is the part that is stretching. You need to have adequate flexibility. This is still tight. And I'm still here, nice and steady, and then up. Okay. So make note of these things. You don't want people to be doing something where there's loss of control in the core and they're just arching and doing. Don't want injuries coming out of this. So from here now, next we'll be moving to the leg curls, leg extensions and calves. Okay. So we'll take a short break in this and then we'll move there.